What do you think of when you think of Italy?
When I think of Italy, I think of old clay shingled buildings, pizza, pasta, wine, and the older like stone colosseums in Rome and gladiators and lions and all those kinds of like fancy things.
So one of the best places that I think of when I think of Italy, it isn't Pisa, it isn't Rome, it isn't Milan, it isn't Venice. I actually think that the best place in Italy is Cinque Terre. So Cinque Terre is a region of 5 cities in the northwestern part of Italy. Cinque Terre is filled with beautiful beaches, it's small and they heavily rely on tourism, and all the people that are there are very friendly. So first of all, before we could go to Cinque Terre, we had to fly into Pisa because there were no flights directly into Cinque Terre. We also found that Pisa was expensive. We went out to dinner. I mean, of course, we went to dinner in front of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, so it was much more expensive. We also found we couldn't tour the Tower of Pisa on that day, which really stunk. You have to book reservations a day in advance, so make sure you do that. There were a lot of people and it was really crowded and it just wasn't us. We left Pisa the next morning and we took a train to Cinque Terre. The first town, so there's 5 towns in Cinque Terre. The first one that we stopped in was Riomaggiore. And Riomaggiore was it was where we stayed all 5 nights. The first thing you see there is there's this iconic red building on the side of a cliff. And so every time I think of Riomaggiore, I think of like the colorful buildings and the cityscape from the sea. And Riomaggiore was very happy, bright, and cheerful. And it had some sort of character. I can't really explain it other than there were colorful buildings that were located on the seaside and the people were all super friendly and super nice. From there, we took a train to Corniglia, which was the next town, and Corniglia is the only one of these 5 towns that isn't located directly on the coast. You have to climb, it's kind of on the bit of a hill, and you have to climb up to get to it. Usually by walking. I'm sure you could probably rent like a moped or something too, but we chose to walk up the hill to get to Corniglia, and Corniglia was really cute. I think that if I had to choose a word to describe Corniglia, I would say that it's artistic. We found that there were really little tight like alleyways and corners, but each one was like ornately decorated. There was an ice cream parlor that had little colorful like bricks in their archways, and there was a lot of little like lemon decorations on the side and sunflowers and bright popping yellow things. But then if you turned to another corner, there was a place where there was a staircase that came down and a tunnel that went underneath that was filled with plants. There were some like building corners or street corners that had like bricks in them or starfish in them, and it was kind of like a collage or a mosaic of sea artifacts, which I thought was really cool. And all the little artistic-y vibes that came out of Corniglia just stood out to me. Ideally, all of these 5 towns have a hiking path between them, but they were washed out in some rains, some tropical storm of very many years ago, like 5 years ago, and they're still working on repairing the trails. The only trail that's currently walkable is the one from Corniglia to Vernazza. So we hiked that trail, and it was really fun. It took us a couple hours, and make sure if you're going to do the hike that you check on the requirements for your dress before you go, because I was wearing open-toed shoes and I almost wasn't able to go because that's one of the restrictions on the sign. So make sure that you pay attention to clothing and requirements such as that. You hike basically through nature and through the woods to get to Vernazza. So I think that Vernazza, it has a little bit more history to it. I'm sure all the other towns do, but this one, that tower seems pretty old. It has a natural arch that you can walk under to get to the ocean. It had a really cute marketplace, and if you do go to Vernazza, I recommend you go to the market. They have we were in one of the stores and we turned around and there was a white cat that was sitting in one of these baskets, and the shopkeeper knew it, and it just went from like market to market and like sat around. So you can see some cats if you go to Vernazza. There's also a really good sub shop that we went to for sandwiches, and we took them, and then we took our little picnic down to the coast, and we went under the archway and we sat on the coast eating our sub sandwiches. That was really good. So Vernazza is kind of more like hip, but also like iconic. Like it's got little things that you wouldn't expect, like caves and cats and archways, and little pillars or fortresses. So Vernazza was very cool. From Vernazza, we took the train to Monterosso, and Monterosso is one of the 5 cities that you want to visit if you want like more of a beach access to the coast. But I think one of the classic things about Monterosso is that they had a lot of like town space. Like it was more of a flatter town, and you could see like the hillsides around you where they had grapevines and orchards. So Monterosso was really beachy and laid back, and they also had a lot of shops in the little area that had a lot of like antique stores and some gem stores, and so it was really kind of like more artistic, but in a different way. Not artistic in the way that Corniglia was, with like their art being displayed on the walls, but like Monterosso had its art inside the shops, and they also had like lots of antiques and relics, which I thought was really cool. And it was also one of like the more towns, when you think of a beach, you would probably think of Monterosso, because they had like their umbrellas spread out and places where people could sit, and it was really quite relaxing, I would say, and more flat and calm and easygoing. So from Monterosso, the last town that we had to visit was Manarola. It was probably one of the highest towns located to the water, like one of the ones that was higher up from the water, which meant that there were some like higher cliffs, but you could also like walk down the boulders a bit and then go into the water easily. It also has lots of trees and greenery, and there's a lot of shops and businesses, which makes it really fun to visit. One of the things that you can do in Manarola that you can't do in all of the other cities is go cliff jumping. And I say cliff jumping, I don't mean like, it's probably about the height of like one of those super high dives. And I decided, well, I've never been cliff jumping, I want to try this. And so we sat down on the rocks eating our lunch, and I remember the whole time I was really honestly trying to work up the courage to jump off this cliff, because so many people have said that they've done it and it's something that they would really want to do again if they went to Manarola. And I thought, okay, I have to do this, because when am I going to ever be back? And so I remember sitting there trying to work up my courage, and then I had my boyfriend Lucas go and stand along like the rocks so he could watch me jump in and take a video. And I sat there watching the other people jumping in for like 10 or 12 minutes, and they're all having a blast and having fun, and finally I'm like, okay, it's my turn. I should have, when I was watching the people jumping in, I should have thought, okay, like it's not just like jumping normally into pool, like 1, 2, 3, you're in. It was like, I never really thought about the drop time it would take me to descend into the water. And so halfway down I kind of freaked out because I thought, I'm not hitting the water, and so I screamed. And then at that point I kind of like lost all control of my body, so I hit on the side of my leg. And so of course, like if you belly flop into the water, you know that hurts. But here I was falling like at height into the water, and my whole side of my leg was sore, and my foot was sore too because that also hit the water weird. And I was crying because it was such a shock to me. I wish I had been better prepared, and I wish I would have thought of it, but I didn't. And so we went and we sat in a little like alcovey area where there wasn't a lot of people around. Some people asked if I was okay. I said yes, I'm fine, which was really kind of them. So everyone was really nice and caring. But it took me a bit to like compose myself and get back to it. And after that, when we got home, I had such a bruise on my leg, it was ridiculous. Despite that, even though I had marks from this incident, I would do it again because now I know what happened. So what are must-sees or must-dos that I would do instantly if I went back to Cinque Terre. The first thing I would do is walk the trail to all of the towns. They have a really special thing where if you visit all of the towns, you can get a necklace, like this one. You get a little gem for each town that you visit, and then eventually you can put them together so that you have all 5 charms on one necklace. Another thing I would do is I would watch the sunset. We came back to Riomaggiore one night and we thought, okay, like it would be really cool to sit on the wave breaker of Riomaggiore and watch the sunset and have a nice view of the colorful buildings as they turn on their lights. And we did that and it was beautiful. It was probably my favorite thing of our whole entire trip. Another thing I would do is make sure, I would definitely jump off that cliff again in Manarola because it wasn't that bad. I just didn't know what to expect, which made it hard for me. And another thing I would do is I would go wandering through the towns and look for little unique things. Like, for example, we saw the market cat and I would really like to see that cat again. After our trip to all of the 5 cities in Cinque Terre, we came back to Pisa so we could fly out. I think on the first day actually that we landed in Pisa and we weren't able to visit the tower, we decided to book a ticket then so we could visit the tower as we left. And so we got in line, we had our tickets, and we waited to go for our chance to go climb the Tower of Pisa, and it was actually really fun. I remember, because you know the tower is tilted, and so I remember like as you climbed up you had to kind of deal with like gravity. You couldn't stand like you normally do, and you had to like prepare for like each time you went around you'd be like kind of tilting a different way. That was fun. And on our last night in Pisa, we decided to walk around the city a bit so we could see what else like Pisa was made of besides the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And we found that there was a very nice pizza place, and there was also a city wall that you can hike. And so that is one of the last things we did. We hiked the city wall all the way back to like the inner city. It took us a good 2 to 3 hours, and then by that time we were like at the place where our airport was, so then we were ready to go. That was also really cool because you got to see parts of Pisa that like you typically don't get to see because you only visit the touristy parts, and so it was really nice. Some of you may be asking, so where did I hear of Cinque Terre? Like, why did I want to visit Cinque Terre? And so it actually started in high school. For our art class, we had to paint a photo, and I decided, okay, like I want to find some colorful buildings and paint them. And so after a couple hours of searching on the internet, I found this photo of these colorful buildings with the sea in front and like mountains behind them, and it just looked really beautiful. It was really fun and quite challenging, but I loved incorporating all of the color and putting all the teeny detail into it, and I thought that I wanted to, it would be really cool to visit this place someday, but I had no idea where it was. And so flash forward to about 8 years later, I was sitting on my computer and Lucas and I were trying to think of a place to go. And so I started looking up like colorful buildings and colorful towns, and then or the top places to go in Europe, and one of those was actually Cinque Terre. And so I scrolled down and I looked at the photos, and here was the photo of the town that I had painted. I had actually painted Riomaggiore, and I was like, oh my gosh, we have to go to the town that I painted. And it was great. I'm so glad that I actually got to see the town that I painted in real life, and that is an experience that I will never forget. But why should you visit Cinque Terre? Because it's beautiful. That is the only thing I have to say. It's not your typical Pisa or Milan or Venice. It's more relaxed, and the people are so friendly, and it's bright and energetic, and I don't know. I think that places that have this deep connection to the sea also have a different type of atmosphere about them. The people seem more, I don't know. It just seems different and more calm and relaxed. And so I think that if you have the chance, you should definitely go to Cinque Terre. I want to personally thank each and every one of you for watching my videos. If you like them, go ahead and leave a comment below if you have tips, if you have tricks, if you have things that I should have included or ideas for another video that I should make. Also be sure to click the subscribe button if you would like to see more videos like this, and I really truly appreciate every one of my subscribers. Thank you, and keep on traveling.